Hi, I'm Imogen. Thanks for clicking on this video. If you're new to my channel, then welcome. I make plant related content every Friday, and if you've seen my videos before, then welcome back. Today's video is going to be an entire tour of all of my houseplants. So I'll be showing you every single plant in my collection and whereabouts they are in my house. My last houseplant tour was actually the first planty video that I posted on YouTube, and that went up about a year ago. So it's definitely time for a new and updated tour. I'm going to start in this room right here, which is my spare room, come office, come plant room. It's a bit of everything really, but it's where I spend most of my days and where the majority of my plants are. So we'll start at my greenhouse cabinet and then move around the room. So starting on top of my greenhouse, I have this begonia bee leaf. I'm not sure what exactly variety it is, but I love the pinkiness of the centre of the leaves and the sort of dark green and light green outer. This is quite a dramatic plant, but with a good water she tends to perk up again. To the right of that I have my Monstera adansonii. I recently cut this back quite a lot and have some stems propagating. She's going a bit yellow at the moment, but hopefully will perk back up again and look better when I put the new propagated stems back in. Then finally on top of the cabinet I have my Hoya carnosa Crimson Queen. This just trails down the cabinet really nicely, and I did show this in my recent Hoya collection video, so check that out if you want to know more. Then inside of the cabinet, we'll start at the top. So on the left I have this aluminium plant. These are just a couple of cuttings, but are doing quite well on the top here. Then in the middle I have this syngonium, which I think is a syngonium mini illusion. It's just a standard green syngonium really, but is again doing quite well. And then this little pot at the front is not doing so well. This was another baby syngonium. It wasn't in the cabinet originally, and I think it dried out a bit, or there wasn't enough humidity. So I cut back all of the dead bits and now it looks like this, but hopefully it will perk up again soon. On the second shelf, on the right hand side, I have this Calathea Beauty Star. It's doing okay. Some of these leaves are a bit curled, so I should probably water it sometime soon, but it's kind of looking fine. Then behind that I have another aluminium plant. I could pot this up with the other two cuttings, but I quite like how it looks as is, so maybe I'll do some more cuttings and then make a big pot. To the left of that is another syngonium. I think this is a Syngonium podophyllum of some sort, but I'm not too sure. This is kind of greeny with burgundy veining on and is really pretty. Then in front of that, in this little pot, is a Calathea rosoptica. I got this from Cowell's Garden Centre. It was in the bargain section because it was looking quite sad. It hasn't really done much for me since, but I do have this pretty little leaf which has the pink stripe on it. To the left of that, in this little yellow mug actually, I just have a Fittonia. I did used to have a lot more Fittonia, but one by one they sort of shriveled up and died, so I've just got this one stem for now, but it seems fine even though it isn't very big. Behind that I have my lovely alocasia dragon scale. This one can't seem to keep more than 2 leaves at a time. So currently I have this leaf, which is the older one, and this lovely new leaf, which has that bright green colouring, which slowly darkens as the leaf matures. Then on the left of that, I have 2 polka dot plants. So at the front is this green and red polka dot plant, and behind it is a green and pale pink polka dot plant. I recently chopped these back quite a lot, so they aren't looking great at the moment, but I do have some propagations that are slowly growing, which I will use to make them look a bit more full. Then on the bottom shelf, this is my Calathea crocata. This did used to look amazing, it had lovely big leaves, but I don't quite know what happened to it, but I cut it all back and now it's throwing out a lot more leaves, They are quite small for now, but hopefully they will grow again. And then also on this bottom shelf I have my Hoya curtisi cuttings and a few plants that are probably dead. And that is my greenhouse cabinet. To the left of my cabinet I have a Ficus elastica or rubber tree. I think this is a Taneki. It has sort of cream variegation on the leaves, but I do have another rubber tree which was labelled as a Taneki as well, but that one's much more pink, so I'm not sure which is the true one. Then on this little table I have 3 plants. Now these ones I recently found mealybugs on. So they usually live on the bottom shelf of that greenhouse cabinet, but I've just moved them out there, so hopefully that infestation won't spread. But starting at the front, this is my lovely Alocasia cuprea Red Secret. This has a lovely red metallic sheen to it and has put off quite a lot of leaves. I think that is a new one, and that little one here, but it seems to be holding up quite well. To the left I have my beautiful Anthurium clarinervium. I actually moved this out of my cabinet fairly recently before I saw the mealybugs, but it has since put off a flower, which is nice, but I'd rather have leaves. But we also have this fresh new leaf, which you can see has that kind of brown colour, which then fades to green. There's also this old leaf, which is very yellow, but I'm just keeping it on there until it dries out fully. The final plant on this table is another of the 2-leaf Alocasia club. This is my Alocasia Frydek, and this one did have quite a lot of mealybugs. You can see the damage on this leaf here. I have treated this, so hopefully it'll come back and maybe give me a 3rd leaf, because I can see the start of one coming on this stem here. Then moving across to the right of my cabinet, I have this small trolley. First of all, hanging up is this Hoya SP Alpbertonii. Again, I talked about this more in my recent Hoya video, but this is a lovely trailing plant with kind of green and burgundy leaves. And then moving on to the trolley, first of all at the back I have my Monstera Friedrichstahli. This is in Leca and has a pretty small moss pole one that I made. It has very much outgrown it, so I probably need to do something with it, but it's putting off lovely big glossy green leaves. No fenestrations in it, but it seems to be happy. Next to that is the start of some of my Hoya. So this is a Hoya Crinkle 8. It's quite stubby and hasn't really grown much for me, but again, seems fine, nothing too bad. Then to the right, I have this Hoya australis, which I grew from a cutting. It rooted really well and I've recently potted it up, so hopefully we'll put leaves out soon. And then to the right on this back row, I have some sorry looking string of hearts cuttings that I probably need to do something about. In front of that, in this little yellow pot, is a tiny little Pothos Enjoy. Again, this is grown from a cutting, but it's put off some really lovely leaves. This newest one is really quite white, which I am a bit worried about, but hopefully the rest will continue to be this lovely patchwork of green and cream. Left of that is my Senecio String of Bananas Purple Flush. This is just thriving. It hasn't actually put off a lot of sort of trailing stems. I tend to place them around the pot in the hopes of them rooting, so it seems to be more bushy than trailing at this point, but I love how this looks, and it's one of the few sort of string of succulents that I actually seem to be doing well with. This empty pot next to it does have a tiny shoot. This was my Alocasia Black Velvet. It shriveled up and wasn't too happy, so I moved it out of the cabinet, and thankfully the bulb hasn't rotted, so we do have this new little stem coming through that will hopefully put out a leaf soon. Then to the left is my Hoya Wyetii. This is in a mixture of Pon and Leca. Not much to say on that. It is putting out a couple of new leaves just there, but nothing too much yet. Then to the left is this Hoya Australis Lisa. This is looking lovely. These new pink leaves are growing larger by the day and I adore the colour on them. In front I have a couple of peperomia. So firstly this little peperomia piccolobanda, which has a sort of green purpley metallic sheen, which is beautiful. And then next to that is this peperomia caparata abricos, which has the beautiful pink variegation on the leaves. It's mainly around the margins of the leaf for now, but as this sits under a grow light, I'm hopeful that more of the pink will come out. Now on to the final 3 plants on this trolley. So this is my Crimson Princess. As I said in my recent Hoya video, I'm not quite sure if this is a Crimson Princess or if it's just turned into a regular Carnosa, but it seems fine for now and I'll hopefully eventually get to see it bloom, which will tell me what plant this actually is. Then this is my lovely string of hearts. This used to be beautiful and trailing and I had it downstairs in my living room, but slowly it kind of started to thin out, so I recently wrapped all of the stems around the pot in the hopes of getting more vines, which seems to have worked. I've got a lot of new little babies coming and I have hope that this will return to its full glory. Finally on this trolley, this is one of my neon pothos. This is from a cutting and hasn't done much, but we are starting to see these beautiful bright neon green leaves come through with a tiny bit of variegation on, as you can see on this leaf and also on the original leaf. I'm not sure if that'll stay, but for the most part they are this bright green, which I love. On the second shelf of the trolley, I just have my African violet. All of the flowers on this have died, but it's still putting off new leaves and hopefully it will flower again for me next year. On the plant shelf above that trolley, at the back, I have a Hoya gracilis, which I have directly under the grow lights in the hope that it will grow some more, but nothing yet. Then in front of that I have my Hoya Sunrise. Again, it's really close to the grow lights because I want to bring out that beautiful orange toned leaves. So hopefully in those new leaves at the very top that will start to come through. And to the right I have my variegated string of hearts. Unlike my regular one, this seems to be doing quite well. We've got quite a lot of strings which are going down and are touching the Friedrichstahli below, so maybe I will take some propagations now while it's still full to prevent it from thinning out. Next to that is my Hoya Curtisii, which has beautiful spade-shaped leaves with a little bit of speckling on. I love how this plant looks. It's really different to a lot of the plants in my collection and the leaves are almost leathery textured. Next to that is a Tradescantia. This is a Tradescantia zebrina. To be honest, this isn't looking its best. I've got quite a few dried leaves up at the top, but it's still really bushy and full and I love how it looks as a trailing plant, bringing in that purple colour which contrasts so nicely with the green of the other plants. Next to that is my philodendron silver sword. This was originally a 1-leaf cutting, but I now have 2 leaves on there and a 3rd one coming up at the top. It is kind of entangled in the next plant, which is my marble queen pothos, or Epipremnum aureum marble queen. This has a couple of stems with beautiful variegation on the leaves. It's super marbled and seems to be quite stable. On this second stem, I did have 1 leaf which is predominantly green, but since then I've had a lot more variegation in the leaves and this is really pretty and also grows quite fast. The final plant on this shelf is my Hoya linearis. This is such a beautiful plant. Its leaves are so soft and delicate, and this also seems really happy here, even though it is quite far away from a grow light, but the stems just won't stop growing, and I love that about it. Below that is my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. I recently did some air layering on this and created a new stem, which is this one, and again already the tallest, but this is doing great. It's putting off new leaves pretty constantly. You can see the brighter green new leaves compared to the darker green older ones. Next I have this secondhand vintage cabinet which has a lot of plants on. So starting at the top, I have this IKEA soccer greenhouse which has a few string of turtles propagations in that are looking a bit sad, so I need to do something about them. But moving to the right, at the front is the first plant I ever put in leca. This is a philodendron scandens. It is a really long stem that I've just wrapped around, but it seems quite happy. It's putting off lots of new leaves and doesn't seem to be losing many, although there is this yellow one which I feel will probably go soon. Behind it I have another peperomia. This is a peperomia graveolens. This I don't really tend to do much with, and it has got a bit wild, and it is definitely turning towards the light source in this room at the window, but it just looks quite nice at the back here. Next to the scandens, this is my philodendron birkin. This has put off quite a lot of new leaves which have the beautiful white variegation on there. In fact, this new one is predominantly white, and I know some people don't like this plant, but I just think it's still quite pretty and I'm glad to own it. Then back here I have another Tradescantia. This is my Tradescantia pallida purple heart. It has lovely deep purple leaves. This one is getting quite leggy, so I have recently taken some propagations from it to make it a bit more bushy and maybe keep it a bit lower down, because this stem is really long. Then next to that I have my Begonia maculata. This was doing great, but it seems to have taken a turn for the worse recently, with quite a lot of the leaves drying up a bit, as you can see on this one and this oldest leaf. But it's got two stems and does seem to be putting off new leaves, so maybe it needs more light. If you have any other ideas, I'd love to hear them. Then at the front I have Osatin pothos. This is beautiful. It's got some really massive leaves like this one. The stems are quite short at the moment, so it hasn't fully trailed yet, but there are new leaves coming, so hopefully those leaves will also be really big and it will trail down this cabinet really nicely. Then right at the back is my Epipremnum pinnatum. Just the regular one, not the Cebu blue. This is gorgeous. I've got a couple of really long stems and it would probably climb up the mirror above it if I let it, but for now I'm trying to keep it away from that and just let it grow more. And inside the cabinet is a Ripsalis pilocarpa or mistletoe cactus. This is quite pretty. It does put off quite a lot of new leaves and I really like the hairiness on the stems. Then behind it is my Sansevieria black coral. Not much to say about this. It does have some new leaves coming, but it is quite a slow grower. Next to that is my Tradescantia nanook. This has got a bit of drying out recently, so it's definitely not looking its best, and I love the lilac colour of it. Then at the front in this little lion pot I have a kalimkoe. This was given to me by my friends at Christmas. It has lost its flowers, but new growth has come through, so hopefully it'll flower again soon. Then to the right of that is my Hoya variegata. This one is trailing. It has lots of new growth coming through, and I love how in this vase pot it looks like hair. Behind that I just have a rubber tree, so a Ficus elastica, I think this is a Tineke, but some of its leaves are really pink, so I'm not quite sure on that, or if it is one of the other varieties. Then at the front is some philodendron micans cuttings, which I recently potted up into pon. Most aren't doing great, but this stem seems to have rooted. We've got quite a few new leaves, although they are quite small. And there is also a new growth point coming in the middle. Then at the back I have a bit of a sad looking Christmas cactus. This almost certainly just needs some more light, but this did flower for me last year, so as summer ends I will move this into a brighter place where it will hopefully flower again for me. In front of that I have another neon pothos. This I bought as a full plant and it's trailing really nicely. Some of the leaves are the bright green, some are a bit duller, but I think it's still recognisably a neon pothos. And then next to that I have my peperomia red log. This has some lovely red stems and tiny oval shaped leaves. This is another one that is clamouring for a bit more light, so I should probably move it closer to the window. Then finally on this shelf is a little hedgehog pot which has my peperomia frost in. This is a lovely silvery plant with darker veining and does seem quite happy in the lower light area and throws off new leaves really often. Then next to the cabinet I have my alocasia zebrina. We've been on a bit of a journey, but it seems to have perked up now. This is the newest leaf, which I was worried had a bit of mealybug damage, but I've thoroughly checked this and treated it, and hopefully it won't give me much trouble. Next up on my desk, I just have a few plants. So this is a new one, which I did an unboxing on. This is a Hoya Crowiana Super Silver. I did mistakenly call it an Eskimo, which is the incorrect name for it, but not much to say on this yet, it's very new to me. Then at the back I have a lovely Ficus Audrey. I've wanted this plant for quite a long time, and it looks like the regular Ficus elastica, but has lovely kind of slightly softer, almost velvety leaves. And above that is my Scindaptus pictus argyrius or satin pothos. This trails down beautifully. I've got a lot of vines on this that I have propagated to stop it going too long but also make it more full. Then on my windowsill I just have a load of cacti and succulents for the most part. This is a Senecio Mont Blanc. It has really soft, white, fluffy leaves and looks quite different to a lot of my other plants. And then next to that is another Kalanchoe or an October plant. This just has a slight bit of variegation on the leaves, which turns pink in brighter sunlight. Next to that, I just have a couple of succulents, which I got as cuttings in this pot. No real reason other than that for why they're together, but I have this lilac-y silver echeveria, and this, which I think is a moonstone plant. And next to that, I have my two bear paw succulents, or Cotyledon Lady Smith, something like that. But I have my little variegated one on the left, which is a bit smaller but has the lovely cream on the leaves. And then on the right is my larger one, which is my regular bear paw, which is putting off lots of new leaves, which are just adorable with the little spikes on them. Next to that is my big cactus pot. So we have a few Mammillaria cactus. This is a Xiomaniana and has had a lot of pink flowers recently. Meanwhile, on the other side is a Mammillaria Centra something. I'll pop it up on the screen. Then in the middle, the kind of main plant in this pot is actually not a cactus or a succulent. This is a euphorbia or Madagascan jewel tree, something like that. This puts off new leaves constantly. You can see new ones coming through. Then at the front are these ones, which are baby's toes. They're looking a bit sad, so I could probably do with watering them. And then here, the final plant in this succulent pot is a Haworthia. Then to the right of that, on the left, I have my pickle plant. This has put off lots of little flowers, which are really sweet. Then to the right I have a little jade plant which has got quite a lot of sun stress, which is why its new leaves are red. And then another little cactus of a variety I'm not sure of. Finally, on this windowsill I have a few more plants. So firstly, my peperomia happy bean. Next to that is a Modania loriformis. Then I have a couple of succulents I'm not quite sure of. This is just an echeveria leaf that I'm hopeful will root. This is a little jade plant, and then the two others are smaller pups from other succulents I have downstairs. Finally, I have this snake plant, or Sansevieria golden honey eye. I think it's got some new leaves in the middle, but otherwise not much going on with that plant. And finally, in this room I have another trolley. So on top is a load of my Callias, which I grew from seeds. I have two varieties, this one with more purple burgundy leaves, and then these ones with more pinky ones. This one is also flowering. I talk about these in my Growing Houseplants from Seed series, so check that out if you want to see how well they've grown. And underneath there I just have a load of propagations, mainly ones from plants I've already shown you, but I do have a couple of Hoya bella cuttings in here as well. And that is my plant room. Before going to my kind of second main plant room, in the hallway I have this Dracaena marginata bicolour. I just wanted a large tree type plant in the hallway, and I got this from the supermarket Lidl. It was only £12 and it fits the bill perfectly. Also on this floor in my bathroom I have a spider plant. This is a north facing window, so it doesn't get that much light, but the spider plant seems very happy in here and is throwing off lots of pups. The other plant behind it is a fake plant from IKEA. Quickly going up to my bedroom, this is quite a dark room. We only have one window in here and that's a skylight. So the lighting isn't great for real houseplants, so I do have quite a lot of fake ones in here, but I also have two real ones. So firstly, on my bedside table, I have this little cactus. I'm not sure what variety it is, but it's in this vase pot. I think it has grown a tiny bit, but not really very much. Also in here is another dragon tree, so a Dracaena marginata. This is really quite sad looking. I pulled the dead leaves off this because I don't really like how they look, but this is really old and I should probably move it somewhere with a bit more light because it's definitely struggling. Now onto the final room in which I keep plants, and this is my living room. This is where the majority of my plants used to live, but I did kind of run out of room, so moved a lot of them upstairs. But as you can see, I still have quite a few around the fireplace and also lots in the window. So starting around the fireplace is this big peace lily. This I've had for years. It hasn't bloomed for me in ages, but it's still throwing off lots of new leaves and looks great. Beneath that I have another peperomia happy bean. This I got as a present from my mum for my birthday and it hasn't really done much, but it looks quite cute here. On the mantelpiece I have my Ripsalis Famulosa red coral. This has recently put out quite a lot of new leaves which have that lovely red tinge to them, and I hope that it will put off a lot more. Next to that is another cactus. Again, I don't know the varieties of cactus, but this is a really fluffy one. It's super cute and is in this little blue face pot. And I have a couple of fake cacti which are fabric. And next to that is my string of turtles. This is just trailing down loads. Quite a lot of the new leaves are small, but they will grow eventually into the larger size that you can see up here. But I just love how this trails over the edge of the mantelpiece. In front of the fireplace I have this beautiful big alocasia sarian. This has got a couple of plants. It's got a lot of smaller baby leaves and a few of these larger ones. And next to that I have my second peace lily. This was a moving in present, so I got it 3 years ago. This has put off one solitary flower, but like the other peace lily, it has got lots of new leaves coming out as well. Then above the TV I have a couple of hanging plants. Firstly I have a saxifrage. This is also known as a strawberry begonia, even though it is neither a begonia nor a strawberry, but it has lovely sort of rippled edged leaves, and like the spider plant it puts off these runners with baby plants at the end. And to the right I have my lovely golden pothos, Epipremnum aureum golden. It doesn't really look much like it. I did have a bit of variegation on some of these older leaves, but for the most part it's kind of pure green now. But I don't mind, I think it still looks great, and I just adore how long this is and how it trails down. This is getting perilously close to the TV, so I'll probably have to cut it soon, but for now I love how bushy and jungle-like it is. In the bay window I have quite a lot of plants. So down here I have a couple of baby dragon trees. These ones do have a lot of dead leaves on, but I just kind of leave them to fall off naturally. I think these are originally from IKEA. Then on this first table I have my peperomia parata. This is just a classic sort of rippled leaf peperomia, and it does need a water, it's a bit droopy, but it's happy for the most part. And to the left I have my Tradescantia silla or the cobweb Tradescantia, because the green leaves are covered in this beautiful white fluff which is like a cobweb. Behind that is another Ficus elastica, my last rubber plant. It is a Ficus elastica burgundy and has these beautiful dark leaves. Next to that is a very sad looking Chinese money plant. I don't really know what happened to this. It just sort of shriveled up and then lots of leaves have fallen off, so I probably need to take a good look at this and maybe repot some of the babies, but for now it's just chilling. Beneath that I have a little cactus in terracotta, not sure of the variety. Next to it I have this almost dead aloe, but each time I think it's dead it puts out a new leaf. And then I have this sad looking Christmas cactus. This seems to be the not great plant table. Yeah, this is very floppy and definitely needs water. Then on the windowsill behind it I just have a load of cacti and succulents again. So firstly this little baby one, then this little succulent with 2 babies in. This I think is a mother of millions. This was a sempervivum, I think they're pretty much gone now. This is another, I think it's a mother of thousands, or this other one is a mother of thousands and this is a mother of millions. I have a lovely echeveria, which is doing fine still. Then another little cactus. And right at the back I have an aloe, which is green and lilac-y. Also back here is my crassula, also known as a crassula jade necklace, which just gets a lot of sunshine. Then here is my Calathea mosaica or Calathea network. This was a Christmas present and I adore how the leaves almost look pixelated. It's so pretty and different and is putting off quite a lot of new leaves, so I think it's fairly happy. Behind that is my Monstera deliciosa large form. I have repotted this a few times, so it's now in quite a big pot with lots of aerial roots. I haven't had a new leaf from it in a while, but hopefully I will do soon. It just has primary fenestrations at the moment, but maybe if some new leaves come through, I will get some secondary ones. Then next to that is my Gonia Corallina de Lucerna. This was originally grown from a tiny cutting and it's now really tall. I have 2 stems on it and it's currently flowering. I'm getting lovely new pinkish leaves off it constantly and I adore how the flowers look like little hearts. And this second stem also has a few flowers on as well, which is lovely. Behind that on the windowsill is a little purple chose succulent, mostly babies from other ones, but this is a Pearl von Nürnberg echeveria. Then to the right of that is my Hoya zebrina. This is the one where I took its babies and put it in my cactus pot upstairs. To the right of that I have my lithops, or little rocks. I mostly leave these alone for the most part, but they haven't died on me. Then to the right I have my wavy jade crashula, which is from IKEA. It probably needs a water, some of the leaves are a bit shriveled. And in front of that I have my little burrow's tail plants, and I have another little pot with a baby one in next to that. Next to the begonia I have a fishbone cactus, which has put off lots of new leaves, and a tradescantia. This was a tradescantia tricolour, but it's mostly gone green now, so maybe it needs some more light to get the purple back. And down on the floor is my ZZ Raven. The new leaves come out green and then turn black. And finally, on this little shelf from IKEA, up top I have my Calathea lucerna red stripe. It has a few vines. This is the longest one and has put off the most pretty leaves. And I've also got a couple of lilac flowers on there as well. Next to that I have my Musa tropicana, or dwarf banana plant. Obviously it's not going to ever put off bananas in real life, but it looks quite cute. And finally I have my oxalis, my purple mock shamrock, which I just love. It moves towards the light and closes up at night, and this is also flowering for me with these beautiful lilac bell-shaped flowers. And that is all of the houseplants in my collection. I really hope you enjoyed this tour, and if you made it to this point then thank you so much for watching, because I know this will be probably quite a long video. If you did enjoy it then I'd love it if you subscribed to my channel and checked out my other planty videos, and I'll see you next Friday for another new video. Bye!